The federal government, as we've mentioned, has targeted the growing black market of illegal vapes in its latest budget announcement. It's blamed for creating a new generation of nicotine addicts. The products will be stripped from convenience store shelves and dressed in plain packaging as part of the crackdown. But not everyone agrees that this is the right approach to tackling Australia's vaping crisis. One of those people is Dr. Colin Mendelsohn, the founding chairman of the Australian Tobacco Harm Reduction Association and author of Stop Smoking, Start Vaping. Thanks so much for your time, Doctor. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Laura.
What is your problem with this announcement from Mark Butler?
Well, the problem we've got with the black market at the moment is the regulations that require adult smokers to get a prescription for nicotine for vaping. And the vast majority don't have a prescription, less than 10% in fact. So the response has been, we've created a huge black market which is filling that gap and supplying illegal, unregulated products freely to young people. And that's been created by flawed regulations, and just doubling down on those regulations, unfortunately, won't solve the problem.
But this is really transferring what has worked with smoking, hasn't it? Plain packaging, higher taxes, that's probably to come on vaping, essentially making them less attractive and less affordable. Why wouldn't that work if you transfer that to vaping?
Well, we actually need to treat vaping products quite differently to cigarettes. These are substitutes, and much less harmful substitutes, for smokers who otherwise can't quit. So
Can I just pick you up on that?
Yeah.
Much less harmful substitutes.
Yes.
Why do you say that? Where's the evidence? And I'm talking about these disposable, colourful things that are made overseas. How do you know what's in them and that they are less harmful?
Yeah, I'm not talking about the black market. I mean, what comes out on the black market is another issue altogether, and we don't support that, and that needs to be stopped.
But that's what we're talking about here, Doctor. That is the problem, right? So if we could just concentrate on those colourful things that are bought on the black market, about $38, and all the kids are smoking them. What is in them? Do we know what's in them and where they come from?
We know, yes, we know they're made from China. They're not tobacco company products. They're made from China and imported by the container load illegally to Australia. So what they're made of is the standard ingredients that are in regulated products, but there are more contaminants, more other chemicals that are unwanted. The analyses that have been done show that they do have higher levels of heavy metals, coolants and certain other chemicals, but overall they're far less harmful than smoking.
Yes, but do you accept, Doctor, that there's a whole generation of people that are picking up these vapes that would never have smoked in the first place?
Look, what we know about youth vaping is that the vast majority of kids who've never smoked are using these products experimentally and short-term. Frequent vaping is almost exclusively confined to young people who were already smokers. Very few of the non-smokers actually get addicted to nicotine, and we've got good evidence for that. There's a lot of anecdotal evidence, a lot of hysteria about youth vaping, and we don't want kids vaping.
No.
But in fact, what we're finding is that vaping is actually diverting kids overall away from smoking.
But do you accept that these kids would probably never have picked up a cigarette anyway? It's just not as sexy as it used to be. It's not as attractive as it used to be.
And most of them will vape briefly and then stop. And some of them who would have smoked would be diverted from smoking. So they've actually got a less of a risk of moving to deadly smoking.
So how do you know that?
Because of the research. So
and where's the research from?
Well, for example, there was a study in Australia just recently published, and the Health Minister referred to it, of 1,000 15 to 30-year-old vapers. They found that only 8 out of those vapers were non-smokers who were using vapes more than once a week. In other countries, less than 1% of vapers are non-smokers who vape regularly. So the research shows that the use by kids is very different to what we're reading about in the media, that it's mostly relatively benign and short-term, and it's reducing smoking rates, and that's a good thing.
But Doctor, how can you say it's relatively benign and short term? I mean, you just told us, you know, there's more heavy metals. We don't exactly know what's in these vapes. They're disposable. I mean, they're bad for the environment, and that's a whole other argument. But how do you know that it would be short term when we're in the midst of this? I mean, is the evidence that the kids have started vaping and stopped, or?
Yes. Yes, there's clear evidence.
Yeah, but how do you know that they stopped, you know, full stop forever? They wouldn't pick it up again because it's so easy to do.
We can't guarantee they won't take it up again, but we know that most of these kids try these products, kids who haven't smoked try these products because they're cool, there's peer group pressure, they use them for stress, and we know that they use them short term, and there's been a lot of studies that have shown that.
One final question, because I don't think this is just about children as well, but anecdotal evidence, absolutely. But I think people watching us talk about this morning will all know someone that has taken up vaping and that they are highly addicted to it. Across all age groups, and they're not constrained, so they seem to be sucking on this vape all day, because unlike smoking, you constrain, you can't do it indoors. Some people, you know, are doing it first thing they wake up in the morning now.
Well, what we know, and there have been many studies looking at this, is that vaping is less addictive than smoking, and that's because there are chemicals in tobacco smoke that make nicotine more addictive. And also nicotine's delivered more quickly from cigarettes, and therefore it's far more addictive. So it's easier to stop vaping than it is to stop smoking. And although people use these products more regularly through the day, they don't increase their nicotine level because they adapt their vaping habit to get the nicotine that they need to prevent withdrawal.
I've got to say, Doctor, that doesn't seem to be the anecdotal evidence. Is there a chance here that research is out of date?
No, it's not out of date. There's ongoing research about the addictiveness of nicotine vaping products, and there's widespread agreement among scientists and agreement amongst the many research studies that have been done that these products, that there are various scales for measuring addiction and various ways of monitoring levels of addiction, and there's consistency across the research that these products are less addictive and easier to stop than cigarettes.
Okay. Doctor, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, Laura.